we had a hearing in the Ag Committee, and Senator Grassley said, these measures were made because of a pandemic. We need to go back to normal, and the use of SNAP should go back down. And the point I made in that hearing was, while some of the things we did fixed problems with the SNAP program to make it easier to access it, it doesn't mean that less people will automatically need it. It means that more people who were eligible were actually getting access to it. So we are trying to put together data and information for some of the Republicans on the Ag Committee to prove to them that the improvements to SNAP meant that more people that were always eligible were actually getting access, and those people are still eligible and still in need. So the growth in the program shouldn't necessarily go back to where it was, because we just fixed problems that made it harder for people to access the SNAP program. So in this Farm Bill, we want to keep some of those fixes, but we also want to make sure that people who need access to food can get it. There's some very hard to reach groups. Homeless people, veterans, and youth, kids in college, kids who have aged out, make sure those hard to access groups get access to SNAP, and we're trying to make sure that hopefully the program can be a little more generous, because again, a little over $6 a day is not enough.
So to follow up on that, I know you've been a big advocate for universal free school lunch, and I was
places like the Bronx or Brooklyn or Queens, the bodega on the corner might be your closest grocery store. And if you go to any bodega, even ones here in Washington, you'll see that fruits and vegetables are very expensive. If you even, I'll give you a local example. If you just go to the CVS and want to buy some vegetables, or the corner store down by Garfield Park, it's much more expensive. You can get a potato, you can get an apple, you might be able to get some celery and carrots, but it's more expensive because they're keeping very small quantities. If you don't have a grocery store within walking distance, which is true for a lot of New York City neighborhoods, it's also true for places like the North Country, where you have lots of mountains and long drives. People need access to grocery stores so they can actually get affordable fruits, vegetables, and proteins. So that's problem one. Problem two is we have to raise awareness about kids who are going to school hungry and who are leaving school hungry. Their best meal of the day might be the lunch they get in a school lunch program, but there's a lot of stigma. So if your school only lets some people who are eligible get school lunch, and they make it obvious, well, some kids won't even take school lunch because they're embarrassed. So we need universal school lunch, and ideally, everybody should get free lunch. Especially children who are hungry, and not make it something that is stigmatizing. We also know we can benefit from school breakfast and an after-school snack, even a school dinner program for kids to do after school. All those programs are very expensive, but they are very needed. And so I'm hoping to build some bipartisan support behind some of these school feeding programs, because sometimes this is the most nutritious meal a kid's going to get in a day.
So my last question for you, there's some major pieces of must-pass legislation that kind of touch on this issue, ranging from the NDA to the Farm Bill. You're working with a divided government. We've seen the House kind of combative over other major pieces of legislation. How do you get this done?
Well, you have to build bipartisan coalitions. One bill, for example, the Republican representative who represents Puerto Rico and I have a bill to make sure Puerto Ricans who are American citizens get access to the SNAP program. Right now they are taking a much less amount of money under the NAP program, which is a block grant, and it doesn't matter how many people qualify, they get the same amount of money. So if more people qualify, people are getting a less benefit, and it's much less than SNAP. So one of the things that I think we can build, because the representative from Puerto Rico is Republican, that we could probably get a few of these ideas into the Farm Bill because we do have Republican support.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, and I have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining Axios today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thank you guys for sharing the opportunity.
Before we leave, I want to convey a big thank you to everyone in the room and our sponsorship for making today's conversations possible, and please stick around for more bites and beverages and networking. Thanks, everybody.